welcome back to the Lounge Podcast where we keep it sassy.
And serious.
We are back with a new episode, and this month we are talking about gender roles and dating expectations. That was a pretty fun sound.
Let us know in the comments if you have questions. If you would like us to discuss the podcast disclaimer, these are our own opinions. Some of them sometimes we do have facts, but we'll let you know like, hey, this is a fact, but most of what we're talking about in our Q&A are just our opinions. All right. So this one's hot topic is very interesting. Should a 54-year-old be having sex with a 19-year-old? Comment down below what you think. All right, Lady Kai, what do you think?
Obviously, I think what the guy just said. But
Yeah.
But I mean, technically, she's an adult. Legally, she is an adult. Or he is an adult. I mean,
Both.
this is a general question. You're an adult at 18.
Yes.
But I just feel like that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to have, sexual relations with anybody who's old enough to be my dad. I think that's weird. And I also feel like at 54 years old, you're very, very much an adult. At 19 years old, you're still growing, you're still learning. Like, there's still some maturity that needs to happen there.
Right.
And I don't know if a 19-year-old, in my own opinion, is at liberty to make the right decisions as far as their relationship goes with someone that's 54. I don't think that the mindset is there to really understand what it is that you're actually getting into with this older person.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Let alone, like, honestly, my biggest issue, like, being at 19, like, going back to 19, there's no way I'm like, I want to be with a 54-year-old. And
Exactly.
like, what? And, like, my other issue is, like, him not seeing that he's much bigger than her. Like, he had way more to lose than her. Like, 19,
Exactly.
I think she's 23 now, 20, whatever. It's been 3 years since she's been 19. But it's like, why? Like,
Yeah.
it's
You're
disgusting.
literally in two completely different levels of life
Yes.
at that point.
Yes.
So it's like, here's one person who is just figuring stuff out, just gaining, things that they may have to lose that, that are at liberty of being lost. And then here you are, well into your career,
Yes.
successful, well known, and like, I don't know. It's just like she might as well be a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like be his child, because I know he has like a 23-year-old. So it's like, why? Like, do you not think about that? But also for me, it makes me think about he's not the only person that does that.
That is true.
It makes me think of like the black families. Like, we
Mhm.
100% know men in our families that like younger women. I'm not gonna say teenagers, but
They like them younger.
younger.
But I think that that's just I don't want to
Preference?
say a male stigma, but I feel like that's common across the board because it seems like it's cool to date to be an older guy and
Yes.
date a younger woman.
Yeah.
And then as a younger woman, it's cool to date somebody that's an older man because
Yeah.
like, oh, I got a sugar daddy.
Right.
That
And that's
whole
exactly
thing.
what it is, a sugar daddy. And I don't know
Mhm.
why Shannon Sharp didn't see it as that. Like, why would you take it to that extent of her, like, allowing her to mess your stuff up? Like, let's be
Exactly.
honest. You cannot come back from this. Like, I look at him differently now. So,
Well, I never looked at him at all, so
ah,
I mean, I I only like recently heard like who he was, and
yeah.
it wasn't through this, but like I think what is this show like Club Shay Shay or
Yeah.
something? Yeah. So I only just heard about that. I think after Cat Williams did that interview.
Yeah.
So
I think it was last year, January.
oh well,
Yeah. It was not recent, but recent. Because
oh.
it's like,
Well, I
yeah.
don't remember, but I know it wasn't. I don't even think it was that early. I feel like it was later in the
No,
year last year.
it wasn't. It was like
Okay.
one of his first shows out. Because I remember it being like a really big thing. Because it like started out the year like, oh my God,
Oh,
he's
okay.
saying all these things. Like, he's
Well,
saying the truth.
oh, gotcha. Well, I mean, since that, I didn't even know
Here,
who he
yeah,
was. I didn't
yeah,
hear anything else, but
yeah. Well, he was a football player. Now he's a podcaster. I think he'll still be a podcaster though.
yeah. Well, I mean, he may definitely be looked at differently, but I don't think that he's still always going to have his fans.
Yeah.
I don't think too much is really going to change for him. You might lose some people, but he might be okay.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, only time will tell because one, he's black and they look at him definitely differently than a white
And he's
person.
not out here diddying, so.
Yes. Yes. But it's still nasty. What are we
Yeah,
doing?
exactly. I agree. All right. Shannon Sharp. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah.
And we are going to move on into our discussion of this month, which, like I stated earlier, we're discussing gender roles and expectations when dating. So, the first question we're going to be tackling is, do you think men are still expected to make the first move in dating? Why or why not? What you
Hmm.
think, Jazz?
I would say it depends on the woman. For me, when I was like dating and stuff, it was more so like Um, I feel like it just depends on the woman. Most of the time, like I'm a go getter, I'll go out and talk to people.
Hmm.
But sometimes I'm reserved, and I feel like in this day and age, that's how women are. Sometimes we will be that go getter, like go out and talk to men. But sometimes we want to be like that reserved woman. I feel like
Yeah.
women were more reserved back then, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's like a flip of a coin.
Hmm. I think I agree. My answer is yes and no because similar to what you said, but I think the expectation is still there. But these days, it's not uncommon to definitely see more and more women putting themselves out there and making the first move.
Yes.
Like, even though we're talking about dating, but I mean, there's women out here getting down on one knee. Now,
Yes.
personally,
Yes.
I could never.
Mhm.
But I mean, women are starting to feel more empowered to do that. And
Right.
I think that another thing contributing to that is dating apps because
Yeah.
now you got all the swipe right and the swipe left and
Left.
all of that stuff. But I think that more and more women are becoming aggressive with putting themselves out there.
Yes.
And that could be because they're tired of waiting on
I
men
was just like because of
who
men.
now are seeming to kind of that's not what they're really interested in now.
Yeah.
And I think that that just goes back to because they're able to get all those relationship perks
Mhm.
without the relationship.
Yeah,
So there's no
100%.
reason for me to be committed to one person when I can have you, I can have her, and her over there, you know?
Yeah. And then that's how the women feel too. That's the other
That is very true.
problem because women are like, well, I can feel exactly like you guys.
Exactly. I mean, the stigma of
Yes,
being
stigma.
a harlot, to keep it PG 13 at least, is kind of changed a little bit. I think that it's become more acceptable or almost even praised when you have a roster of people that you
Yes.
are engaging in, you know,
Yes. 100%.
yeah,
Instead of
exactly.
settling down,
Engaging with, yeah, um, sexually or whatever the case may
they're doing
be.
for you.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
and it goes back. I know we're not talking about him anymore, but it goes back to this Shannon Sharp thing. He
Hmm.
was buying, well, I think he was really giving her money, but it goes back to like the whole sugar daddy thing. Like, you expect, she expected Shannon Sharp to give her X amount of money. He
Hmm.
didn't. And she was like, oh, I'm going to sue you. And it's like
Yeah. Mhm.
a 19-year-old.
It's I think relationships these days really boil down to what can I get from
Yes.
you? I'm
Yes.
not concerned about what you need or anything else like that. This is very selfish. What can I get that's going to satisfy my need?
Yeah.
And then the moment that that need is not being satisfied, obviously there's someone else there to do it.
Yes. And that's what sucks. There was like someone else, if you don't do it, someone else will. And that's
Exactly.
exactly how, like, I feel like men and it sucks. Women too. Like if you
Mhm.
can't do it, someone else will, and it
Yeah,
just sucks how society has gone into that.
exactly.
Yeah.
I wish we could go back to the old time ways. I
they
said that like I I was back there in that time.
they had their struggles too. I don't know if I would want to go back because we have mouths on us,
Yeah.
and we're very. I'm not gonna say mouths. I'm just saying like we speak our mind. We're
Mhm.
allowed to speak our mind and express our feelings. Work if we want to work. Work if
Yeah.
we don't want to work.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
I agree.
yeah.
I definitely agree.
Yes.
So let's keep this train moving. How do you think gender roles influence your upbringing?
Hmm. I feel like being a young black girl, being upbringing with also having a twin brother, so it's like obviously the opposite. So it's like comparison, I guess you
Mhm.
would say. Like he did things a certain way, and I did things a certain way. But my biggest thing is like, not every woman wants to hear this, but anything a man can do, a woman can do, and anything a woman can do, a man can do
I
at the end of the
agree.
day.
I
Not,
totally agree.
yeah, not saying we want to, but at the end of the day, we
Mhm.
can do both.
We can. Um, yep. Nope. I agree.
Mhm.
And I feel like I had two younger brothers, and I would say that gender roles definitely influenced my upbringing in the aspect of responsibilities
Yeah,
or how much responsibility was given. And maybe the how much could have been attributed to the fact that I was the oldest.
right.
But I don't know. But it was things like my brothers were able to take out the trash. Not
Yeah.
that I wanted to take out the trash, but it's just like I was never given that option
Right.
because I'm a girl.
Right.
So I was doing things like clean the kitchen, wash the dishes,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then also, this wasn't like super prevalent in my upbringing, but it was just kind of like how the conversation changes when the boys would talk about, oh, there's this girl that I like, and maybe I have a little girlfriend,
Yeah.
little,
Yes.
at that age,
At that
that young
age, yes.
age. Yeah, that's my girlfriend.
Yes.
But then if it's like me, if I would have
Yes.
said, oh yeah, I like this boy, or
No,
this is my boyfriend, it's
absolutely not.
like, what are you talking about?
Mhm.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah,
It's
no.
just different.
It is. It's
Which,
annoying.
I mean, yeah, it could be kind of annoying, but
I like get it to a certain extent, but I'm so like, like women can do this, men can do this. Like it doesn't have to be a one thing. Like when I
hmm
was younger, me, my both of my brothers, we all picked up snow outside, picked up leaves. Like it sounds so simple, but
hmm yeah.
I,
See, like it was never expected of me to go outside and help my dad shovel snow,
yeah,
but it was expected of my brothers
to
to go
do.
outside and help shovel the snow.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get that.
And
Like,
I could also just see that in how what my mom's responsibility in the household was versus what my dad's responsibility was in the household. Like, mom's not going to be expected to go fix the sink, but dad is expected to go fix the sink.
right,
Dad's not expected to go cook a meal for his family, but mom is expected to go cook a meal for her family. So,
right, yeah.
yep.
All right, let's go right on to the next question.
And
So,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, 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 go ahead if you want
No, you go ahead.
to. Okay. Okay. Are communication styles between men and women perceived differently in dating? If so, how?
Um, so I think that communication styles between men and women are definitely perceived differently in dating. And I think one, there's like directness versus subtlety. So men are often encouraged or expected to be more direct, as in asking someone out, expressing your interest very clearly. Whereas a woman, we're often socialized to be more indirect. So instead of letting you know, hey, I'm interested, can I get your number? We're going to drop little hints. Maybe we bat our eyelashes at you, or, we do
Yeah.
something crazy like that, or we use like little cues rather than just saying, like, hey, I like you.
Yeah,
It's
definitely
always
more
going to be,
reserved.
yeah, like some kind of statement that's like, I'm feeling this, I'm trying to flirt with you, but I don't want to be too forward. But I
Right,
want you to know there's something there.
right.
And I think that the perception of it is just a man being direct is often seen as confident and assertive, whereas a woman being equally as direct may be perceived as aggressive or
Yes,
thirsty or too
yes.
forward.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. And honestly, there's a lot of that in this day and age. Like we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about earlier, how women have definitely been more forthcoming because I feel like I'm definitely more forthcoming. And some men don't like that. They don't like that at all.
Yeah. But I think that there's a difference in forthcoming as far as knowing what it is that you want
Hmm.
and versus forthcoming as, I don't know, like, hey, I want you to be my man. You know?
Yes.
Like there's a difference. You still want the man to feel like I'm the man, I'm leading this thing and
Right.
she's not telling me what to do,
Yeah. Hmm.
Versus if he is doing something that you don't like, you're very forward and say, "Hey, I don't like that."
Right.
There's a difference.
Yeah, yeah, there is.
Hmm.
Another thing I wanted to point out how we see dating and how the media sees dating. Honestly, it's kind of weird how the celebrities, they're always dating someone new every other month. And it's just seeing how I'm not some of them look like sluts. I'm gonna say it.
Oh
Okay,
my
Amber
gosh.
Rose, not much anymore.
Mhm.
And Kim, she's always naked. That's what she wants to be. And it's just how they date and how like kids are, because let's be honest, kids are on social media and how
Mhm.
they see dating instead of like being out in the open. They're seeing how it's perceived online, and it's like,
Yeah,
no, that's not how you want to be out here. But that's what they see.
I agree. So, I think that there's a lot that happens, and social media influences so much of that because then people get realistic and unrealistic views of what a relationship is, what it should look like, and things like that. And they don't realize how all of that in turn affects when you're actually in the middle of your relationship because every relationship is different
Yes,
because every person in every relationship is
it's
different.
different. Yes,
So you can't expect that because this guy went and did this grand thing, bought
yes,
flowers and a new car and all of that stuff that's what your relationship is supposed to look like. I mean, it
yes,
creates a false narrative of what
yes,
relationships are. And so then you're sitting there looking crazy when your birthday come around
yeah,
and all you got was a popsicle and, a ride to McDonald's. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But it's like that might not be in his means.
Mm-hmm.
And, how he shows his love and affection for you could be completely different than how this person does
Right.
it. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that this guy loves his wife any more than
He
he
loves
loves
his
his.
because he can only buy the popsicle.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people need to understand that relationships, love is hard and it's not always 50-50.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's 80-20.
Exactly.
And, you have to be in one to really understand it. I feel like I said, people
Hmm.
who get all their information or being swayed by social media, it sucks for them. I really do hope parents do differently. But we'll talk about that on a different podcast episode.
Yep. And I think another one of I mean, I'm assuming you were covering the question of what's the difference between healthy standards and unrealistic expectations as far as the way social media portrays relationships, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another thing that we probably need to stop doing is thinking that guys can read our minds or women can read guys' minds instead
Yes.
of just saying what it is that we need. And I think sometimes when we look on social media, you see the relationships where it's like, oh, he knows just what I wanted or just what I needed,
Yeah.
and all that. And it's like the reality is sometimes they really don't.
Yeah.
And that's because you don't tell them, you don't talk to them and communicate with them and tell them what your needs are. Tell them the things that you like. And when
Yeah.
you're upset, this is how you want to be treated and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
like, if we don't tell them what's on our mind and how we're feeling, how are they supposed to know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big um, unrealistic expectation that some people go into relationships with, expecting their spouse or their partner to be a mind reader.
Yeah.
And that's just not realistic.
Yeah, I agree because I can't read anyone's mind. Even though sometimes, like, okay, so this is what my therapist taught me. Every time you think someone will have the same reaction or the same thinking as you,
Hmm.
you'll be upset each time. And that's why I had to go into it every time with like every relationship. I'm like, they don't think like me. They're not me. So
Exactly.
why am I getting up? Why am I getting upset? Because you'll get upset each time. You're gonna let yourself down. So that's what we need to go to when we're going into relationships.
Hmm.
Another big thing, like I said, I see on social media, but also people talk about this as well. They want their significant other to have money, either it being a woman or a man.
Exactly.
They want them to have money. Like, say the guy is making six figures, they want the woman to make six figures, and
Hmm.
then vice versa. And then I feel like sometimes the woman will be like mad if that man isn't making that, or it's just. I feel like money
Yeah.
is just the root of all evil, but also those expectations. Like
Hmm.
you can't have those expectations going into a relationship, especially if they don't have that. Like,
Exactly.
what?
and I want to help you out a little bit.
Yes.
It's money is not the root of all evil.
No.
The love of money is the root of
Mm.
all evil.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if money wasn't good, then God wouldn't want us to be blessed. You know?
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
the love, like you worshiping money, like money is everything. And yeah, money plays a really big part in whether that's one of the main things that makes you eligible or ineligible in the dating world. Because it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you don't have no money, we ain't having no conversation, you know?
For some women.
Which for some women,
Yes.
not me. I'm not like that, y'all.
Yes. Yes.
But the reality is a lot of men and women are like that. They come to the table looking for something, looking to get
Yes.
something out of it, but it's just like, okay, well, what are you bringing to
Yeah.
the table?
Teamwork
You
makes the
know?
dream work, okay?
Exactly. And yeah, you might not have your six figures right now, but
Hmm.
I'm willing to be there with you and help you build until you get there.
Exactly.
So I think that if more people had that mindset with their partner, that you might not be there now, but we're going to work together and we're going to get there together,
Yes.
then,
You have to come
relationships
with,
could be a little bit different.
yeah. And like she keeps saying, like all relationships are different. So please do not compare your relationship to someone else's relationship or even yourself to someone else because everyone
Hmm.
is different. Like,
Everybody's different. So we've talked a lot about just the standard relationship and things like that. How do you think that dating expectations differ across different age groups?
I think, okay, I think I'm going to go back to Shannon Sharp. I do not think that 19-year-old has the same dating expectations as the 54-year-old
Yep.
because obviously she just wants money and he wants sex.
Hmm.
And let's be honest, at 54, he should be thinking about his grandkids and she should be thinking about school or job. I'm not saying she
Yeah,
has to
a
go to school,
career.
a
Yeah.
career, an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, whatever she wants to do. She should not be trying to get a sugar daddy. Like that should not be on her mind. But once again, social media it affects us way differently than how social media affected our parents.
Hmm.
Social media for them it wasn't as big, so
Right.
they had to go outside looking for the sugar. No.
But they did.
They did, yeah. That's exactly what they
Because they
did.
didn't have access to the same resources
Mhm.
that we have now. And I think about my parents, they've been married for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's just like 30 years, there was no Facebook dating, there was no Tinder, no
No.
none of that. Like people had genuine
eHarmony.
connections because they met in person. There was no catfish or anything like that where
That was a good
you
show.
feel like, oh yeah, I love catfish.
Yeah.
But you feel like you're talking to this one person and then, you meet him and they look like a dinosaur. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's sick,
It
like how
is.
someone could do that.
Mhm.
People are bored
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't have jobs.
Or they're just self conscious and they
Yeah.
feel like they can't be who they
Themselves.
are. And I think that sometimes that's because they're not, they don't find themselves attractive or they feel like they have some sort of flaw that's
Yes.
just not lovable and they shouldn't be loved as who they are. So they have
Hmm.
to be like somebody that they're not in
Right.
order to get the love and the satisfaction that they're looking for.
Yeah.
But I think that dating, um, definitely the expectations change across age groups. So I feel like for teenagers, the priorities are always different. For teenagers, it's probably more about identity, as in figuring out who I am and having fun. So
Yes.
those relationships are probably a little more casual and experimental.
Yes.
Whereas you have like your 20s, which is more about like the priorities would be like growing, your growth and your experiences that you're having. They're usually a little bit more casual, but then they end up getting serious for some.
Hmm.
Then you have your 30s who are more like, okay, I'm really looking for commitment
Yeah.
and values. Like, do our values align?
Hmm.
And they're looking for something that's a little bit more long term and it has potential to go really far.
Right.
Whereas your 40s and your 50s, I feel like it's more emotional and more like clarity that they're seeking as their priorities because it's like, all right, I'm 40 or I'm 50, like
Yeah.
what is going on here? If you
Hmm.
haven't already been
Found that.
married or
Hmm.
maybe you were married, you're divorced with kids, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So, sometimes those can be a little bit more, I would say, serious
Yeah. I
because
bet
you're
it.
at a point where you're like, well, I don't have that much time to waste, you know.
Yeah.
And then definitely with your like 60 plus group, I feel like their biggest thing is companionship.
Yeah.
At that point, they're just looking for someone that'll be their friend
Yeah.
and that they can have, on their side to talk to. And
And to
I
die
think
with.
that, yeah,
Yeah, that's
but
me, I
I
feel
do
like.
feel like sometimes at that age, especially if you've been married
Yeah.
already, it's sometimes a little less pressure because you're like,
Yes.
it's
You're already
almost like you
old.
go back to teen, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to have fun right now. I'm just
Mhm.
looking for a friend, you
Yeah.
know?
I feel like that's how we're all gonna be when we get that old. Like we're just gonna be like,
Well, hopefully I am still with my husband
oh yeah,
when
these
I'm
are old people
60.
that aren't with their significant other.
Yeah, girl. You
Yeah.
better still be with your man.
No. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
But yeah, do you think that men and women separately have different dating expectations? Why or why not?
Hmm. I think like individually, like as a woman, and then individually as a man.
Yes.
I think yes. Like I think it goes back to like a woman wants a man that leads, like
Mhm. Mhm.
wants, and 9 times out of 10, a man wants a woman that knows how to cook and clean. Um,
Gender roles.
literally going back to that. Um, yeah, I don't like that whole like men want a woman know how to cook and clean when I think everyone needs to know how to cook and clean.
I agree. Because what if, we get to an age and I'm not able to cook and clean anymore?
Literally, who's gonna cook and clean?
Exactly. Well, if you ask my husband, we'll have somebody do it. That's
Oh, he's gonna
exactly
pay
what he'd
someone.
say.
No, he gonna be there. It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you. I think about it as biological and like
Yeah.
life planning factors because women may feel a little bit more time sensitive about relationships, especially if they want children. And
Yes.
then, that can also lead to prioritizing having a long term relationship or having compatibility with their spouse. But sometimes that can lead to settling, which is not always,
Good.
good. Exactly. Because that can lead to turning red flags green just because
You
you
want to
want
have
to
a
be
kid.
married and you want to have children.
Yes. And that
And
probably
then,
wasn't in the cards for you.
exactly. And then I feel like men, they are often under less biological pressure because, they can
Yes.
have babies until they leave Earth.
Correct.
So I think that they take a little bit more time exploring and delaying serious commitments because they're
Yes.
like, well, first of all, they're probably not even thinking about kids
Yeah.
to begin with.
Especially this day and age, they do
Yeah,
not care about that.
exactly. So they don't feel pressured to find something more serious. And then I
Yes.
think they also sometimes, because they have the expectation of, oh, I'm supposed to be a leader, I'm supposed to provide, and all of that stuff, they delay um
Being
being
it.
committed to somebody because they feel like, well, I haven't got this. Once I get this, then
Mm.
that. But it's like it's always going to be something that you haven't
Yes.
accomplished. And if you
Yes.
find the right woman, she'll help you accomplish those goals.
Yes. I
You know?
agree.
So if
Yes.
that's you out there, stop waiting and just ask that girl to marry you.
Yes. Like life is gonna happen no matter what. So just be
Hmm.
with the person you love.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. And then as far as like the gender roles in modern dating, so like dating today, I think that many women expect men to initiate and plan dates and lead into those early interactions. So texting first, asking me to be your girl first, saying I
Yeah.
love you first, stuff like that. Whereas men probably still expect women to be more emotionally supportive or more passive in their pursuit, not trying to like take over the relationship, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
But I do think that more women are feeling empowered to initiate and um, seek more clarity in their relationships. And I think that men are embracing vulnerability in their emotional awareness and commitment a little bit more.
I agree.
Mhm.
Hmm.
All right, that was honestly a really great discussion.
It was.
I
It was.
enjoyed that conversation, and we definitely want to know you all's thoughts. If there's
Yes.
something that we didn't cover that you'd like to know more about, definitely put it down below in the comments. Or if there's something we talked about that you want us to clarify or expand on, drop that in the comments
Oh,
below.
before we go into little victories, one more
Yeah.
thing I wanted to say.
Mhm.
Um, Also, we're really talking about expectations for marriage, not expectations just to have kids. That's another big one. Um, I think it's very like with the media, our culture today, it's more accepted to have baby daddies and baby mamas, but
Yep.
the expectation is to get married.
Hmm.
And obviously, some marriages do fail, but if you have God on your side, for real, if you have God on your side, then you will prevail. And another thing is, I know some people say marriage is just a piece of paper, but when it comes down to someone dying,
Hmm.
you're gonna need that piece of paper because
Yep.
there's a lot of money that comes with that piece of paper. Not saying you as yourself need it, but if you have kids,
Hmm.
they need it, not you. They need it. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to put that in there.
And personally, if I feel like if you feel that marriage is just a piece of paper, you probably want to consider if marriage is right for you, because
Yeah.
marriage is so much more than just a piece of paper. It is a covenant
Yes.
between you, your partner, and God.
Hmm.
It is a partnership. I mean, it's way more than just a piece of paper,
Yeah.
because there's going to be days where a piece of paper just isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
You're going to need some love in there. You're going to need some
Hmm.
strength and all of that stuff
Yeah.
to get through those hard days, which goes back to what we talked about earlier with the unrealistic expectations. We see in social media how everything looks peaches and
Yes,
cream,
being a
but
single parent.
yes,
No.
but it's just like you don't see
What happens?
the days that are hard.
Yes,
You
behind
don't
closed
see
doors.
when they're sitting in their bathroom floor crying
Yes.
because it just feels like the world is coming down on them. Like you don't
Yes,
see that stuff.
you don't.
So those are things to keep in mind. But we're
Yes.
going to lighten the mood with
Yes,
some little
sorry.
victories. Woo!
All right. So my little victory this month is I actually went to Pilates this week. Well, not this week, 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Yay!
That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It
Mhm.
was hard, so that's why I'm like, but it was fun.
I really wanted to try Pilates, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of videos saved on YouTube
Mm.
to do the Pilates, but one day I'll get to them, I
Yeah.
guess.
You could just do cardio for now.
Well, yeah, I guess I could.
Your little walks.
You're
Sorry.
okay. My little victory is that I went on a trip this past weekend with my mom. And even though that may not seem like much of a little victory, me and my mom haven't been on a vacation together since I was a senior in high school. So
A
it
long
was
time
really
ago.
fun to just hang out with each other, mother
Mm-hmm.
and daughter bonding. We actually went to the CC Wine and Generation conference, and it was amazing. So I would say you
Yay.
guys should definitely look into that and try to sign up for next year. It will definitely bless you.
Yay. Where was it?
It was in Nashville, Tennessee.
Ooh.
Yep. And now we're just going to leave you guys with this. So, if there's nothing else, the one thing we want you to take away from today's conversation is this: you don't have to fit into anyone's script, not even society's, not traditions, not even your own past expectations. Dating isn't about performing roles. It's about showing up as your full, authentic self and connecting with someone who sees and values just that. Whether you're redefining what romance looks like for you or just learning to unlearn old rules and old expectations that you might have had, know this: you are worthy of love exactly as you are. Keep asking questions, keep setting your own standards, and remember, the healthiest relationships are the one where both people feel free to just be themselves.
Yes, Lady Kai. Thank you.
No problem.
Hmm.
All right, y'all. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at The Lounge Podcast, Sassy and Serious. Don't forget, we put out a new podcast once a month. And I'm Lady Kai,
This is Jazz
and we're on The Lounge Podcast where we keep it sassy.
and Serious.